Hey Jenny, what's so great about beer?
Beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. Welcome. You are listening to Beer Talk Radio, the only craft beer podcast in the business section. I am your host, Jenny the Greek, the queen of beers, la reina de cerveza, the Khaleesi of craft, the Bourdain of brews, the Cardi B of ABV, pourer of pilsners, and lover of local dives. Make sure to visit the Beer Talk Radio website at www.beertalkradio.net. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please send me an email, jenny@beertalkradio.net. And if you're a fan, you can be on the show as well. Just click the link in my show notes, leave me a voicemail, and I'll put you on the following episode. Let's drink. Today's episode is another edition of COVID-19 Coast to Coast. And today's correspondent is from Las Vegas. Now, I met this man before I actually met this man. Way back in the early days of me learning how to be a baby podcast producer, I had produced a podcast for a man named Wes Miller. This guest was, I believe, his very first guest. So I was able to hear his voice and hear his message and hear his story almost 2 years before I even met this man in person. Actually, almost 3 years before I even met this man in person. And then fast forward, we find each other through LinkedIn, and he doesn't know that I was the one who edited that podcast. And he just reached out to me because, I'm a rock star and he liked my videos. And lo and behold, I find out he is also a serious drinker and beer enthusiast. He's a man's man. Every man would want to be him. He has a passion, or every woman would want him, that's for sure. He has a passion for humanity, having served as a United States Marine and then as a police officer in both New York and Las Vegas. He's written quite a few books. His most recent book is called Police IQ, 13 Police Proverbs and Street Wisdom. He is my friend. He is Sgt Christopher Sarge Curtis. Welcome to the show.
What's up, Beer Queen? How are you?
I'm great.
That was a great intro.
I'm good at this.
Yeah, you are.
Storytelling is my middle name. Now, Sarge, I had to reach out to you because, as you know, I'm currently in Oakland. Probably 5 minutes before we got on this call, I got a text message from my boss. I am being laid off. However, I am going to be coming back to finish up building out that studio, which you were able to visit. And I have no fear in my heart. I know that wherever I am, I'm going to make money. Wherever I am, I'm going to be touching lives. So I'm not particularly worried about myself, but I am very happy to come back to Vegas, and I will definitely see you, and you'll be in my studio to promote your book. And we're going to do a podcast together that'll be a little bit more on the fun side when all of this COVID-19 bullshit is over.
And we're going to drink beer.
We're going to drink plenty of beer, do breathalyzer. It's going to be awesome. I love your idea, and I can't wait to learn more about how you guys test, because I've never gotten a DUI, knock on wood. Anyhow, I want to talk about what you're seeing in Las Vegas. You having been a police officer, you pretty much know everyone in town. What the hell is going on in Vegas?
I have a lot of thoughts on this. From the perspective of a parent, as a former first responder, as just a person in the community from a leadership perspective. So I kind of want to touch on a lot of those different things. So first off, I had a little bit of a situation with my daughter, my oldest daughter, Christine, because last night she went to a gender reveal party from some friends. And I had spoken to her very clearly that the way that we're going to be able to address this is by people taking it serious. And I think by going to permissive type events, like that's a permissive event, it's not essential. You don't have to be there. It's going to continue the spread of this virus, which is very serious. From a first responder perspective, I am as close to being a germaphobe as possible. So imagine that when I started my career, I worked in downtown. So I dealt with a lot of the homeless community. And towards the end of my career, I worked downtown. So I dealt with a lot of the homeless community. Obviously, homelessness is a huge challenge in Las Vegas. And being homeless doesn't afford people the opportunity to be as clean as they would like to be. So I imagine that the homeless community is going to be hit by this very, very heavily. And in turn, the people who deal with them the most are first responders. So you're going to see, in my opinion, a huge spike once testing starts the way that it should be done. There's a huge spike in homeless people and homeless infections, and a huge spike in first responder infections. I'm going to share something with you that maybe a handful of people in this world know. You know that TB test that you get where they stick the little thing under your skin and then it's supposed to go flat?
Yeah, I've seen that. I've had that a
Okay.
couple times. I had it
Right.
before and after I was pregnant, and then I had to do it again for a job application.
Right. So about 10 years ago, I took that and I had a reaction. So I was exposed to TB 10 years ago. And so I don't get that test anymore. I have that in my system. So I can't transmit it, but I can get sick in the wrong type of circumstance. And that is from a first responder perspective. Nearly every nurse in the Philippines, they say, has been exposed, and first responders get exposed to a lot of different things. So if for no other reason that you want your first responders to be in tip-top shape, abide by the stay-at-home hashtag and rule that's kind of out there. So I was a little, I don't want to say upset, but I was a little disappointed that my daughter, who's normally insanely sharp, chose to go to this event. I mean, you can gender reveal on several different media platforms.
So if any of you don't know what a gender reveal is, it's just basically like a baby shower, right?
They know the gender of the baby, so they do some unique form of letting you know that it's a boy or a girl.
But it's usually at a baby shower, correct?
So yeah, it's basically
something like that.
Right, it's very similar. But the whole point is to reveal the gender of the child to everyone. And there's some people who've done some really funny ones, but under the circumstances, it wasn't necessary, in my opinion. There's no need to expose people to potentially becoming sick or becoming a transmitter of this virus. And I'll tell you two insider kind of scoop things. One is there's the thing called CERT, Community Emergency Response Team. Every state has one. It is federally funded. It is a training that's usually about 2 weeks that the feds put on that teach civilians basic basic emergency response protocol. They teach you how to start a fire, put out a fire, do CPR. They're the people that when they do these kind of mass, like post-apocalyptic trainings, CERT people are the ones who act as the role players for these type of things. When the police and the fire department and the military train for that, CERT people are the ones who stand in and do that. CERT people give out food. CERT people train, direct traffic. CERT people are the civilians who provide assistance to government law enforcement in the event of emergency. A lot of people don't even know that CERT exists. When I retired, I became a member of CERT. Very good training. They give you a bag full of equipment and they call upon you to assist. I got an email a few days ago asking me if I will come on board to assist them with this pandemic of this COVID-19. I think there are two things that I want to share. One is I don't have full trust in the government's ability to handle things. And I believe that I have more faith in my ability to protect myself and my family. So, and that's not a knock on the government. That is just me sharing that I don't think that people should put all the onus on the government to protect them. I believe that your first line of protection is yourself. From there, my second thing when they offered me the opportunity to assist them was that I said, in my mind, I want to know that their protocols of safety are of the highest level, because I don't want to get infected and then therefore infect someone else. So if I see that the way that they're operating and their protocols are high level, I will be willing to participate. The other thing from a government perspective is I still teach in the police academy. So I am scheduled to teach in the police academy in April. There are likely 40 recruits in that room, definitely more people than what the government or what medical professionals are saying should congregate. But the class that I teach, or the classes that I teach, are mandatory in order to get these first responders on the street. So people don't think about how are we dealing with the people who have to attend training. So there's a protocol that's in place, and it seems very high level, and I have very, long and intensive conversations with the staff about what they're doing to ensure the safety of the recruits and of the instructors that come in. And I feel comfortable, but I'm going to monitor that. There are a lot of different things that are occurring and a lot of things that are going to occur. In my opinion, in my professional opinion, I do not believe that we've seen the scariest thing that's going to happen. But when I say scary, I mean that there's going to be initial level of, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. And then we're going to realize that we can get past this. But it's going to really, really require leadership and people taking responsibility of staying inside and not doing the non-essential things. The challenge that I find in the lack of leadership that I see, it's funny that you'll look in your email box when this wasn't going on, and you have all these companies sending you emails about attending events and come party with us, hang out, come to my come and do it. But and you're like family, right? They say you're like family. But now what do we see? If there's three things we see a boilerplate email or a message read off a teleprompter. We don't see anything at all. And then in very few cases, we see what I believe should be done is we see a leader, and I call these people leaders, that come to you face to face, not reading a prepared message and just speaking from the heart. In Spanish, from the corazón. And they're saying, you know what, maybe we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we called you family before, and we're going to call you family now. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to get through this together. And it's just someone really speaking from the heart, because I don't read a prepared message to my children. I don't read a prepared message to my mom. I speak from the heart, and I say how we're going to get through this. And we talk about the unknowns, the knowns, all the different things. And those are the people that I'm not seeing in the numbers that we should be, because we all have to pull together. I believe we're going to get past this. The thing that I'm seeing from a crime perspective is I'm seeing these opportunistic criminals who know that people are not necessarily in their best state of thinking, and they're taking advantage of the opportunity, stealing packages in a much higher level, pretending to be utility service people, pretending to be delivery people, and going. I saw a video of a guy that went in with a full mop gear. And mop gear is basically a gear that you wear to protect yourself from becoming infected. He went to a security officer and this was I think it was in Mexico or Central America or South America, I'm not sure. He pretended to be a person that was going to check for infections. He knocked the security guard down. Several other people rushed in, and they went and robbed the people inside of the place. People breaking into vehicles, looking for items because then the vehicles are going to be unattended. Workplaces that they know are going to be unattended. I mean, it's surreal here in Las Vegas to see casinos boarded up. Mind you, I have been through 9/11. I've been through Katrina. I wasn't in Louisiana. However, I remember the different challenges and things that different law enforcement agencies were going through. And I've never seen anything like this where we're actually boarding up casinos, which is in some ways the lifeblood of what people do for a living. So there are a lot of different moving parts. I believe that we'll get through it when people start taking it serious enough. But I don't believe we're at that point right now. I believe we're at a point where people still think it's not going to happen to me, that it's a little bit overblown and it's just the flu, and it's more than all of those things.
I had just moved to Vegas, perhaps maybe 9 months before October 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there. I was there. I was living at the high rise on Maryland and Cambridge for the Prime. So I literally saw everything from my balcony. I was on the 7th floor. I could see all of Las Vegas. I saw everything. I remember when he came on. I remember it like yesterday. I remember just seeing a line of red and blue flashing lights going down the street, and the sirens just did not stop. I remember the way everyone reacted. I was a volunteer at the SAFE Nest. I was volunteering at SAFE Nest, which is the women's shelter for domestic violence. But but most people don't know they do house men, just not in that property. But yeah, I was volunteering at SAFE Nest when all of this happened, and I remember just the community outreach and the community coming together, and I remember going to First Friday and just seeing all the love that was there. This is like on a whole nother level. Like October 1 doesn't even compare to this, because now there's nobody even can support each other. Nobody even can come outside and give each other hugs. You can't go love on the first responders and the nurses and the doctors, because they don't want you touching them, and they're overloaded anyway. So it's like even the ability to support each other is missing. I have friends there who've shown me pictures. I've seen pictures of the strip completely dark. I think we did that kind of like as a memorial for like 5 minutes or something one night, but it wasn't a permanent or long-term shutdown. What differences do you see between October 1st and now?
It's an excellent question. And I'll tell you, because I was here for October 1st, and I rushed to, the locations that I needed to rush to that were my responsibility. So this is very interesting. And you're one of the first people that kind of brought up kind of juxtaposing October 1st to COVID-19. So here's the interesting thing when you think about all of the other things like 9/11, October 1st, the shooting that they had in Florida. You can see that enemy. You can see that threat. Even the most unintelligent person is going to run from gunfire. COVID-19 is invisible except for the victim. And COVID-19 is the thing that people say, it's not going to happen to me. Like, I was just driving by the park a couple days ago, and there were people playing full court, 5-on-5 basketball, people with no masks on, no nothing, just hanging out, just doing their thing. And it requires a level of common sense and intelligence to defeat an invisible enemy. And the challenge that we're having is people are just not being intelligent enough to say, let me stay inside. So yes, October 1st, we were able to identify an enemy. We were able to say, okay, this guy started shooting at this group of people. We can figure out how to get, how to mitigate challenges of having a weirdo inside of a casino shooting down on people. But how do you mitigate social interactions? How do you challenge or change the social norms of just shaking hands or giving a person a hug or being within 6 feet of people? I mean, this is a paradigm switch unlike anything else. The onus was on professionals to change and fix things that happened with 9/11. The onus was on the professionals to change and fix things for October 1st. Don't allow people to bring bags into the casino. They were adding security teams. And for, Katrina, they were working on how to deal with the levees. But how do you tell people not to stay close to each other? How do you tell young people and even older people not to socially interact? I mean, that is telling a person to change 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of conditioning to not interact socially. So the sad thing is that we're going to have a whole bunch of people die off. We're going to have people that are going to get sick and feel uncomfortable about it. But hopefully we socially, I was always very big on hand sanitizer, cleaning my hands, but I'm also like, when we first met, like, I'm a hugger. Like, when I meet people, I'm like, oh, I'm a hugger. So when are we going to be able to like do those things again? And that's the big delta that we have to cross. I mean, there is a delta that exists between once we are able to tackle and address this, and how do we get back to being socially, caring and comforting to the people that need it. And this is like nothing else that has ever occurred before. So those are the differences. We're dealing with an invisible enemy. We're dealing with having to change our social norms, the conditioning that we've had for our lives. And the fact is, I just watched a movie, and I highly recommend that you watch it, and it's called The Platform. It's on Netflix. And the premise
Is that the one about Bill Gates and Barack?
No, it's not a documentary. It's actually a film. It's a Spanish film about a kind of like a correctional facility that has several floors, 2 people to each floor. There's a buffet of a smorgasbord of food that starts on the top floor, and then it stays there, and the 2 people get to take as much as they want, and then it goes to the next, and then it goes all the way to the bottom. And by the time it gets to the lower floors, I don't want to spoil the movie for you, but basically the movie is very much about how society operates. And if you look at what's going on now, the rich and famous are getting the testing, the well-prepared are not having as big of a challenge, and society is getting to see who's really, what is humanity really about in these kinds of circumstances? What is humanity really about? I mean, it teaches us more than any other lesson, because with the October 1st, everyone got to do the kumbaya, this shooting was horrible, let's light a candle and all this other stuff. Now it's like, don't get near me. You see people buying out all the groceries and buying out all the toilet paper and things like that. I mean, you didn't see those kinds of things. People weren't placed in that kind of situation for October 1st. I mean, this is something that is incredibly telling about the fabric of our community. Remember, whether you're a Donald Trump supporter or not a Donald Trump supporter, now everyone is saying, let's shut borders down. Is it inhumane now? I mean, what does it tell us about society that when, and our worst is when we don't want people to come in? I mean, one has to really sit down and take a self-inventory on what it is that you're willing to do. Our bellies are full right now. Most of us, our bellies are full. But what happens a month from now when our bellies are not full?
Right.
How are we going to treat other human beings that, again, we cannot get close to? I just saw a food bank. I saw a food bank doing this mass food giveaway, and people were just within a foot of each other, no masks, likely reinfecting each other, but they're giving them food. It's almost counterintuitive.
Yeah, like what's the least of all evils? Do I starve to death, or do I get the corona?
Exactly. But or then that's one point. But then from a leadership perspective, if you run a food bank, do you have to figure out the most clean, effective, non-infectious way to give out food? Is that to me, that's true leadership, because we're creating a circle of reinfection. Amazon delivery is, and I just say Amazon because there should be other delivery services, because I think that what we're understanding now is that delivery service, disinfection of items that we touch, and those who have knowing how to humanely give to those who have not is going to be what really, really matters. So there's so many different things that are going on. And from a crime perspective, I can tell you right now that there are cops who are going to have to interact with people, and they're going to be like, I really don't want to go to this domestic because everyone inside the house is coughing. They're likely a COVID infected. And now even my tactics are going to have to be somewhat compromised, because if I'm wearing an N95 mask, my breathing is going to be labored. If I'm in a foot pursuit, what happens then? How many masks do I get? I mean, there are so many things to think about. There's a fight that breaks out between 2 guys. You're going to get in there and wrestle with these guys now, likely become infected. Bloodborne pathogens that we may be dealing with at some point, which I used to have to deal with before. I mean, from a first responder perspective, this can be catastrophic if not handled properly. Staying at home is incredibly important. And social distancing, following the basic simple principles, will help the first responders and our medical professionals be able to do what they need to do. I did a talk at a really cool CrossFit gym called Project Fitness. The CEO and owner reached out to me, and he said, his name is Drew, really good, solid dude. when this first popped off, he was like, "Hey, Sarge, I like, the message that you have. Would you be willing to do a message from a safety message for my team?" And I was like, you know what? That's a phenomenal idea. And from a leadership perspective, I love how you're thinking. And I did it. I did it for him, and he passed it out to his people, and it was very helpful. And it let them know that their leader was thinking about them. So there are just so many things to think about. But I think that the pause in my book, I talk about it. Taking a pause. I like getting arrested for some people. It's a pause they needed in their life because it lets them stop and think. This is the pause that some of us need. Because I'm in my house, I'm taking a breather and saying, I'm doing self-inventory. Like, who am I? Like, some people have been reaching out to me. Hey, can you do this? Can you do that for me? Can you do this for me? And I have to really evaluate from a perspective. When you watch this movie, you'll get this reference that the girl is the message. I'm just going to say that to you. When you watch the movie, you'll get that reference. The girl is the message. The girl is the message. And I'm realizing that more and more as time passes. And I speak of time. In fact, I got a tattoo last time I was in Nicaragua, and it says time is. It just says time is. And what are we doing?
Send pics.
Okay, I will. I will do. I can't say no to you. So, time is very, very crucial now. And how do we maximize this time? Because we can do a lot of really productive things. I mean, if you think that you're going to quarantine for 30 days, what can you do in 30 days? What can you do?
I love that you brought that up. And I think this is actually the best way to close out this episode, because I didn't get to really dive into this on the other COVID-19 interviews that I've had. So for me, it's like, you know what? I'm detoxing. I am drinking so much alkaline water. I have my own alkaline water pitcher. So it actually turns tap water into alkaline water, and it's been great.
Oh, that's dope.
My body looks great. Like, that baby fat's starting to go away. I'm spending more quality time with my roommate. So, her and I are connecting, even though she's like always likes to watch scary shit. And sometimes we get nightmares and shit. We both be waking up in the middle of the night, working on myself, like diving into the podcasting. I converted all of my MP3s to MP4s. So now I can get everything uploaded on YouTube. Getting the plan together for the studio, which you have visited. So, I mean, there's still a lot more work that needs to be done. I'm reading more. I'm catching up on all these other amazing podcasts. I'm building my listenership. And now that it's like everyone else is at a pause and everyone else is down, it's like, I almost feel a sense of relief. Like, not that I don't want to be going to work, and not that I want my boss to be going out of business, not that I want to get laid off. I don't. But for me, I can actually sit in my own shit and smell it and then fucking clean it up. Self-reflection, self-awareness. Now is the time. I tell everyone, if you want to lose weight, now is the fucking time, because you're not sitting on your ass at the office anymore. You can do your push-ups at your house. You could do your crunches and your squats in your backyard. You don't need to go to the gym. Focus on yourself. Like, for me, we had this conversation about, I was thinking about you the past couple days, because I remember I told you I wish I had never started smoking weed, because it's been an emotional crutch for me for so long. And for the first time in God knows how long, I'm like 5 days without marijuana, and I'm forcing myself to learn how to self-soothe, to learn how to bring myself to a place of peace when I have a panic attack or when I get scared about something. And even just learning not to have fear anymore. Like, I've had so many horrible things happen to me in my life, but let me tell you right now, I have so much peace in my heart, because I know that every time something bad happens, something better happens now. So now is the time to equip yourself, to build yourself, to catch up on that self-development, to catch up on that professional development, to be reading those books, to be listening to those podcasts, to be loving on your family. I even made a joke. I was like, I'm not sexually active, but if I was, why not try to have 12-hour marathon sex with the person you love when you're stuck at home and you can't go to work? You can't do it any other time. Do it now. You know what I mean? Now's the time to learn the Kama Sutra. Fucking do it.
That's it. That's ambition.
Well, goals. The time to get clean. Now's the time to detox. Now is the time to get your head together. And I think that's why I don't have any fear in my heart, because I'm so focused on catching up on everything that I've been pushing to the side because I'm working.
I love everything that you said, and I agree with you. It's a good time to wrap, because I was just kind of just a stream of conscious. I've had a lot of thoughts about this thing. The Police IQ book that you have a copy of, and policeiq.com is where you can find it, talks a lot about intuition, and intuition is going to be your guide on how and with whom you should interact and how you should interact with said people. So again, it's always a pleasure. When this clears up, we will grab a brewski, and it's nothing but love for Vegas. And I'm excited for your studio to do all the wonderful things it's going to do.
Thank you, Sarge. I appreciate your time, and you be safe out there. Okay.
Will do. Peace.
And once again, always thank you for your service. Not just your service in the past, but the service now. Thank you.
Likewise. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
And that concludes this week's episode of Beer Talk Radio. If you enjoyed this episode, please comment and rate on iTunes, and that will help other people find the podcast. If you are interested in receiving one of my Street Team swag bags, please visit my website, www.beertalkradio.net. Enter your rapid fire questions and your name into the subscribe area, and I will send you one. If you're interested in being on the show, I'd be happy to put a clip of your voice and your commentary in the following episode by leaving a voicemail. The link to the voicemail is in the show notes. And if you have any questions for me or past guests, I'd be happy to get those answered for you. Send me an email at jenny@beertalkradio.net. Thanks for drinking with me, and have a good one.